Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
This is Joe Bunn.
And we have a very special guest with us this week, a longtime listener, first-time guest. How's that? Let's say hello, everybody, to Mike Alevras.
Good morning, everybody.
What's up, Mike?
That's pronounced correctly, right, Mike?
Mike, absolutely. You would always be a fan at my parents' house by pronouncing my last name correctly.
Well, I've introduced you at the DJ of the Year competition,
Yes.
so I remember breaking it down phonetically and making sure I got it right. So that's how
I appreciate it. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
And
for
by the way,
being on.
Joe, I don't know if you know this, but we have taught Mike's daughter some very colorful words. Mike says,
No.
how old is your daughter?
She's 3 now.
Oh,
but
no.
When she was listening that time we talked about it, she was a year and a half, maybe.
Oh no.
Mike says his daughter, first of all, she cracks up at our voices, right? She just thinks we're hysterical.
Yeah, I mean, when she was that little, for whatever reason, your voices struck a nerve with her, struck a chord with her in the car. And every time Joe, the two of you would talk, she would just start giggling uncontrollably in the car.
Oh man, I wish you had a video of that. That would make my day.
Well, I had sent Mike a text of that, literally a day after that day, and he goes, "Dude, you need to record it." And
Oh, man.
I'm driving, man.
Now she's grown. Now she's all grown up at 3 years old.
And
Yeah,
I'm
now
sure
it's all
she's,
about Homo and Disney.
I'm sure she's had to, I'm sure Mike's had to explain, like, Daddy, what does this word mean? Why does Mike keep saying this word?
Joe would know. She's at the age she parrots everything.
Oh yeah. That 3 is scary, man.
Yeah.
You drive. Oh shit, and shit. It's not good. It's a scary age.
Yeah.
My first marriage, my first wife had 2 nephews, and they were probably in that 4 to 5 range. And I remember watching a football game with them, and I was so good. I was so aware.
Right. Oh.
But then later over dinner, one of them said, "Jesus Christ." And their mother was like, "You don't say that." And he goes, "Well, that's what Mike was saying."
Oh no.
I thought I had cleaned up my act.
Yeah,
enough, but apparently not.
no. Throw you right under the bus.
But
Right,
yeah, he's
exactly.
a fan like I am.
Yeah. So we have we're going to interview Mike, and we have a few topics to talk about. Before we get to the meat of that, I have to circle back to our show last week. Joe, you made a bold prediction about the halftime show. There was no Kenny G appearance. I was disappointed.
He came out solo, didn't he?
But as the biggest weekend fan amongst the 3 of us, tell us what you thought of your boys' halftime show.
Man, I was thoroughly entertained, and I was looking back at my notes. I was thoroughly entertained, Mike. I thought it was interesting that he wasn't on the field. He was more in the end zone. I thought it was super cool that he went like inside the structure he had built. I thought
I had to look away during that, by the way. I know I've mentioned I get
nausea.
And so I was literally like watching, like, tell me when he's out of the house.
Yeah, it basically like he was in a fun house and he kind of grabbed this GoPro, which now everybody's made a trillion memes of. I would say if I was there, and so those 25,000 people probably saw that whole part on the Jumbotron.
Right.
Yeah, that was probably kind of weird for them. But like as a viewer at home, I thought it was cool. I thought soldiers or dancers or he's got this whole theme of this plastic surgery going with this bandages on his face, but he carried it by himself. He played I don't know, I think he ripped through like 8 songs from 4 different albums. He sounded great. So
scale of 1 to 10, how would you judge it?
7.5.
All right. I think you're probably adding a point because you're a big fan.
I did.
I said 6. Mike, what did you say?
Yeah, I said 6 and a half. But I mean, the phrase I used online on social media, I said it was good, not great.
Right. It's fine.
He didn't embarrass himself.
No.
Right.
I think part of the problem, and I don't know if you saw, the social media was not kind to him.
I know. That's kind
But
of.
I think the biggest challenge is, like you said, he's got this thing going with the plastic surgery. Your average music fan isn't aware of that.
Yeah.
So it was confusing to see a field full of people with what some people have described as underwear on their face.
Right.
I think that part you and I know, because I've followed him closely enough.
Me too.
That he's got this thing going on with the bandages and everything else, and it's a message about. But I don't think your average fan knows that. So
Agreed.
It was confusing.
Or average, generation. I mean, even a 50-year-old man, other than somebody that's a DJ, right? You don't.
I have peers who are not in the music business, not DJs.
Right.
What's
going
on?
on?
Probably never heard of Weekend and certainly don't know about the bandages.
Sure.
Mike, I just chime in quick. I was thinking the same thing. Is that he's completing this story of his performance arc on his stage show, and if, like you said, if you're not following it, you don't understand it. That would be like if the Marvel Cinematic Universe and these big, huge franchises that arc stories made this a requirement that you had to see everything. Where most of those big franchises, you can jump in and out of the movie. And it wouldn't matter. And I thought that made it tough. Like, I like his music, but I had no reference point for any of those things until going on and reading them. I said, man, that's tough to pull that off with such a huge audience to not understand the context.
But that's him, though. You know what I mean? Like, he's just an artist. You know what I mean? Like, from the visual to it was cool, man. It was entertaining. Is it Prince playing in the rain? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But he did the best he could.
Yeah, and that's what I said, COVID. Mike, I think on your post. I said he didn't embarrass himself, but he certainly didn't put himself into the discussion of, greatest ever or top ever. He didn't do that.
No.
But he I don't think he put himself in the discussion of worst ever either. So, and I think that's one of the things you do as an artist. You want to avoid that. You want to avoid going out and basically, I'm going to be kind because your daughter's probably crapping the bed. You want to avoid that.
And let's be honest, I guarantee that Pepsi, NFL, everybody else was shoving it down his throat to have Ariana Grande or Slash play the guitar during the middle of the hills. Like, I guarantee. And he was like, nope, I've got this. I respect that. It is very rare for them not to pair up Bruno Mars with Coldplay, which is so stupid. Like, just let the people play. They can carry 12 minutes, like Mike said.
Even J-Lo last year. J-Lo could have, and no knock on Shakira.
Or Shakira, quite frankly.
Yeah, I guess Shakira could too, but certainly J-Lo could have come up with 12 entertaining minutes on her own. There was no reason. Anyway, let's get to our guest. Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to have you on, Mike. Thank you so much for being a guest. I do appreciate it. You've had an interesting career arc. As you told me yesterday, you started as a mobile DJ, got into radio, and then left radio and focus. So we're going to talk to you about the mobile DJ thing, but tell me about the radio. How you worked at, or you interned at the Fan for a while, WFAN?
Yeah, WFAN in New York. It's probably the most well-known and biggest sports talk radio station. I had already been working as a mobile DJ fairly closely to full time, but I kind of was thinking maybe I need to have something else to fall back on. Everyone kept saying, you've got a voice for radio. You should get into this. So I did the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and I interned at WFAN. I got to intern for Mike and the Mad Dog, Mike and the Mad Dog, like the biggest sports talk show in the country, and a lot of their other talents. And you're basically there editing sports highlights for their flash update anchors every 20 minutes, screening calls, and putting commercials on the air.
And their studios are in Queens, correct?
Not anymore. They were in Queens at the Kaufman Astoria Studios on
while you worked.
I worked there, it's the same.
So where were you living at the time?
I was living here in the Hudson Valley. I was driving, an hour and a half to New York City or the Queens, 3 days a week
for an internship
for free.
Right, for an internship.
Yeah, but now they're at the Hudson Street Studios in Manhattan.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So I'm assuming you met Mike and the Mad Dog?
Oh, yeah. One of my shifts, I was Mike's intern for his Sunday morning solo NFL show. I was responsible to get his injury report stuff ready for his interviews, basically have him prepped. Yes, I did get him breakfast every Sunday. And just generally did some prep work for him. So when he came in, he had his information for whoever he was interviewing, whether it was an injury reporter, or a coach.
As someone who has only listened, and I used to listen to Mike and the Mad Dog all the time, Chris Russo seems like a cool, down to earth guy. Mike Francesa seems like a pompous, arrogant asshole. Is that a fair description, or does their on air personality not match their off air?
No, their off air personalities are similar to the on air personalities, just not as amped up. Does Mike come off or portray a bit of a arrogant, attitude, yeah, a little bit, because he's on the #1 radio show in the country. He gets the biggest ratings, and he'd been doing it for 25 years. Chris is absolutely wound up and excitable over everything. The first day I met him, he walked up to me, patted me on the back at 12 noon and said, "Hey, did you see the Giants-A's game last night at 10:30 at night?" I'm like, "Chris, I don't watch, West Coast baseball." And he was wound up like it was the Yankees in the World Series. So he's absolutely
fanatic about everything.
Absolutely. But I get to ask, that's the #1 question I get asked is, what's Mike and Chris like all the time?
I went to Game 3 of the 2000 World Series, Mets Yankees, and they were broadcasting from the parking lot of Shea Stadium. So I got to watch them. I probably watched for like an hour, and in between each break, whenever they went to commercial, Francesa would get on his phone. I guess at that time, probably a BlackBerry, and it totally ignore the crowd. Russo would jump off the stage, sign autographs, high five with people, chat with guys, take photos, that type of thing. And I'm like, you arrogant, just look up and wave at least. I mean, we're literally here chanting your name, but whatever. It just came across as that.
Yeah, but it was a cool experience.
Cool.
Just a side note on this. I was going to make a post about this. I'm sure there's nobody from the NFL listening to this, but I got this blanket email from Goodell like the day after the Super Bowl. Like, I cannot thank the NFL enough for carrying through with this season. Like, it literally kept me sane. It is one of the reasons why I'm still sane after a year of this virus. Every Sunday I had something to look forward to. Didn't even care who was playing. Had NFL Red Zone. It switches between the games. Like, it literally kept me sane, and I don't know what I'm going to do without it. But shout out to the NFL for pulling this off, because I cannot imagine how difficult that was. All right, Mike. Now let's talk about what everybody listens to this show for. You pivot into the mobile DJ sphere. How? Why?
Oh, okay. So I've been in the mobile DJ business. My next door neighbor had owned a DJ company. I graduated high school.
Yeah.
I had no knowledge. He said, "You want a job?" I said, sure. And what happened was I quickly realized I developed an aptitude or a skill for it, not knowing anything about the business. And I also had, in addition to DJing, I had a part-time job in retail. And I said, "Hey, man, I hate this retail job. If you can pay me those same hours and that same pay, I'm going to quit that job and work for you."
I love that.
And next thing I know, I was doing sales for him. I was training his staff, and I've worked for 3 different multi-op companies, running them as kind of like the vice president, general manager. I did own my own company for a while, and then merged my company with a fellow DJ named Josh Lask. I know Mike's done work with us.
I know that name. Yeah.
Yeah. So Josh and I were partners once before, and he had gotten out of the business. He got back in. So we put our companies together, LB Entertainment, and it's been a wild ride.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool trip through through your career there. You've had some interesting, and Mike is correct. I've done some. They brought me up, I think like 2 years ago, to work with their crew. And then and I'll give a little shameless plug here. Just this past weekend, I did a virtual MC workshop with their crew that went over really well.
I saw that.
To the point where, if anyone is interested in having me do that with their crew, obviously, to me, it's not the same thing as being in a ballroom and actually having the hands-on. But nowadays, that's not safe, but also it's a lot cheaper for me to just do a Zoom virtual kind of MC.
If that just if you're listening to this and that even ran through your brain as a good idea, it is a good idea. Just reach out to Mike and book this.
Joe, I'll give Mike a blatant endorsement. I mean,
will too.
He, the information you're going to get from Mike when one of these workshops, even virtually on a Zoom, is worth gold to your company. I mean, we got a lot out of it when we brought you in person 2 years ago. We would have done it again in person if it weren't for this pandemic, and to be able to have that option and just give another perspective to our guys, give another voice of expertise and experience to pass that on to them and kind of energize them. Because when I talked with the crew after they were done, they were jacked, they were jazzed, they were energized about it. So for any business owner out there looking to do something like that, whether it's for the knowledge or just the energizing your crew, do it. Call Mike now.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, how can you look at an industry veteran, that is basically offering his services for 30 years and not take advantage of that. Like, and I mean, you don't even have to leave the comfort of your house. I mean, it's just, this is a no-brainer, folks. Anyway,
I'm humble.
we're moving on.
Thank you very much.
Moving
I appreciate it.
Moving on.
Mike, you and I met at the DJ Expo, I believe, right? Is that the first time? I'm pretty sure DJ Times DJ Expo. And I think the first time Mike appeared on my radar, you were doing games in Jake's game workshop.
Yeah.
And I remember approaching you and saying, dude, you should compete for DJ of the year because you're incredible MC, very interactive. So, and you know, from listening to the show, this is one of the ways that Joe and I wouldn't say we're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
No.
As far as DJing, but I tend to drift more towards the emceeing, microphone work. Joe tends to drift more towards the rely on the music and don't be as interactive. So where are you on that? I'm guessing I know, but where would you put yourself on that spectrum, if you will?
I would put myself slightly more in the emceeing interactive on that spectrum. I wouldn't say that I force it and it's a requirement of one of my shows or performances. It's client and event dependent. I'm perfectly capable. If you want the music to do the work and you want me to pull back on the throttle a little bit, I'm happy to do it. But if it's an event that requires a lot of games and interaction and MC work and me out on the floor, which I do prefer, even when I'm not doing all the interactive performance techniques, whether it's a game or an icebreaker, I do prefer being out in front of the boards. I lean more towards that way, and I'm happy to do it. And I enjoy doing it because I get to be a little more creative, I think.
Yeah, and I got to say, creativity is probably one of your strong points, because those games that you have shown, and I'm sure will continue to show in the future, a lot of those you came up with on your own, right?
Oh yeah, virtually all of them. And even when you first discovered me and I came up on your radar, I was teaching line dances at Jake's seminar. I did line dances for 5 straight years, and some of those dances I was literally creating in the hotel room at the expo 2 hours before I went down to the ballroom and did it.
Right. That's crazy.
And so yeah, that's I enjoy doing those.
So, Mike, speaking of, I guess, entertainer of the year, not DJ of the year now, you and Jake took this over. Mike retires. Like, give us a little, high-level overview of how that's gone so far, what you're looking forward to this year. Just kind of tell us about that a little bit.
Well, I love every bit of it. I mean, it's a tremendous honor to be a part of that and to follow in Mike's footsteps. When Jake called me and told me, one, that Mike was retiring and he was taking it over, be my sidekick, I was floored. I didn't even think I was deserving of something like that. We've been very fortunate that we've had some great venues to host these events in.
Yeah.
We were also very fortunate, and I got to give DJ Times a shout out, that they have backed some of the things Jake and I have asked for. We said, we want to transition the name from DJ of the Year to Entertainer of the Year.
Yep. No
problem. We said, we want a grand prize. We want some stuff that the winner is going to get, whether it's a pair of speakers.
Sure.
The first year we did it, the winner got the Evolve 50s, and they had just come out. So that was
a great prize. Yeah.
We also said, hey, do an article about the winner in the magazine. You've got this. You've got a magazine. Put it in there.
Yeah.
And we were happy to do that. So it was really big to get that. It was really big to get some really awesome venues. I know, Mike, you were kind of hamstrung with the Black Box Cabaret a little bit. It wasn't the most ideal venue.
What, having a stripper pole on the stage?
Yeah, having
it, Mike. Get it, Mike.
And making it rain on stage.
We did our best, but hey, don't knock it, Mike, because you might be back there this year.
I do have that inside info. I already know.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. So,
because the show is back at what used to be the Taj Mahal, right?
It will be in. I made sure I got the notes. It's in the Hard Rock Casino, which is the old Taj Mahal.
Which is a great hotel and casino for the show. It's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done a lot of reworking on it. What Jake and I are under the impression, what we've been told, is the Entertainer of the Year contest will be in what's called Dyer Nightclub, DAER. That nightclub is the former Casbah location.
Oh, that's great.
They have gutted the thing down to the studs and the floorboards and rebuilt it. And
damn, that's going to be cool.
Jake was not able to get an inside look at it. He was in New Jersey once, went over to the Hard Rock, couldn't get inside the venue, but we've gone on the website for the club. There's a gallery. It looks pretty awesome.
Man,
dude,
that's exciting.
Spared no expense. The lighting,
cool. That is awesome.
DJ booth.
Look, Mike. I see Mike's brain turning. He's like thinking that he should have come out of retirement. Should he get his purple jacket out again?
I've always said I don't miss the prep work of it, but the night of, I'm jealous. The night of, I regret giving up. The 364 days out of the year, I don't regret giving it up. But yeah, watching you and Jake on that stage and having that the platform basically to be introducing this thing and running it and everything else, I go, oh, maybe I should have stuck with it. But
you know what? I did
Mike, 15 years, and you know what, Mike? I'm sorry, Joe. I'll let you
go ahead.
But one of the reasons why I stepped down was all the things that you talked about, innovating it. Mm-hmm. I was done. I was burnt out. I didn't have any more new ideas, and I just said this competition needs a fresh voice and enthusiasm. So in that respect, I'm glad I did.
You know what, Mike? It's a different buzz. Like last night, I gave my first live seminar to a real audience, 30 people, NACE, Triangle chapter, which is, my chapter. And it felt amazing. I've done a million virtual things. I can't hear people laugh. I can't see their faces. I don't know if it's conveying. Like last night was just a different kind of buzz. When I was done, I was like, dude, I feel so good right now. Like it was just, the last thing I was scheduled to speak at live was Mobile Beat. We all know that canceled. So it had to have been 2019, maybe in the summer or fall. If I even spoke then, it could have been 2 years since I've been in front of a live audience.
Yeah, I was talking about it with KC, the wedding MBA in 2019.
Okay, so a year and a half for you.
Right. Yeah.
Craziness. Okay. So let's shift into why Mike's really, really here.
Yeah. So pandemic hits. Coming up on a year ago. And you realized fairly quickly that you needed to basically take a day job, right?
Yeah,
or a night job in your case.
Yeah, which I'll explain really fast. But basically, Josh and I were able to maintain guys that were salaried with the company, myself, a couple others, at 50%. So I basically had to slash my pay to 50%, suspend all commissions and bonuses for booking events. And we were able to keep payroll going. But after a while, and once we got to about May, and people had postponed jobs and said, all right, I'm going to postpone it till May and things will get better. And then when it didn't, and we knew we were going to be postponing again, I went and got a full-time Monday through Friday day job that's at night. I work overnights now and have been since June of last year.
Are you allowed to say?
Oh yeah, of course I can. Okay. I work at a shipping terminal at a freight loading dock for 53-foot tractor trailers, and I'm a forklift operator. I drive a forklift, 7,500-pound forklift, picking up pallets of goods, moving them from one trailer and moving them to another.
Did you have that license though, Mike, or did you have to go to you have to learn that trade?
You don't have to have a license per se, like a driver's license. You don't have to have like a CDL,
like a class. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't have to have one of those. You do get training. You do get kind of signed off on by someone at the company that makes sure you know the safety requirements and how to operate it safely, because it is considered a piece of heavy machinery. These things are 7,500 pounds.
Oh, we've seen the videos of like the warehouse disasters.
Yeah, it's no joke. And you're moving freight that weighs anywhere from a couple hundred pounds to 3,000 or 4,000 pounds. I mean, this is not a job where you can allow yourself to be distracted.
So, man, I mean, that kind of goes towards my point. And I've made like multiple, almost like emergency press conference videos about this. I mean, why do you think? So number one, props to you. I mean, you already said at the top of the show, you got a 3-year-old daughter. Do you have other kids?
No, just her.
So, I mean, you have a family to take care of. You have yourself to take care of. Your business, you want to go on. You're in survival mode like a lot of us are, and you're not ashamed of taking a job and providing for your family. Why do you think so many DJs are, or even still reluctant here going into, in 25 days, we've hit the 1 year mark, like still reluctant to take a job, like what's the rationale?
I think there's a bit of feeling maybe embarrassed or feeling a little defeated. You know, I've grown this company, I've grown this business, and I'm a kind of quasi public figure in my community because people see me out DJing their events, and I work with other businesses and other vendors. Will they be a little nervous? Like, oh my God, maybe he's not going to be DJing again. He's left it. Maybe his company isn't as successful or will be there when I need it. And I just felt like, hey, everybody's affected by this. Everybody's got different situations. And I think, and I feel like people understand. Everyone's got to do what they got to do. Yes, I love DJing. Yes, I'm going to continue to DJ and go back to DJing. But right now, that I can't rely on. I mean, I have not physically touched my DJ gear for a paying performance since November 7th.
Damn.
I DJ'd I can remember it from March 11th of last year until November 7th of last year. I used my deck, my controller 5 times.
Right. That ain't it. That ain't enough, man. It ain't. It's even not enough if you're 25-year-old single and have a entry level car and an apartment. You know what I mean? It's just not enough income, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, I've told people, whatever you've got to do. Like, if it's not DJ related, who cares? Mike just told you he's driving a forklift. Has nothing to do with DJing.
Yeah, Joe, that's been my experience. I think a lot of guys and gals have taken other jobs, but they're almost embarrassed to say. I've had so many conversations with people. Hey, how you doing? And they're like, "Listen, man, I'm driving for Uber, but don't tell anybody." Right. And I'm like, you should be proud of that. Like, dude, you said, screw it, this business is on hold. Like, Mike, you used the word mothballed the other day when I was chatting with you. Right now, your business and this industry is pretty much mothballed. And if you know anything about mothballs, that doesn't mean the reason why you use mothballs is you plan on wearing that.
You're going to get that stuff back out, right?
Yeah. Right now, we're just shut down. It's temporary.
I've told people that are, or at least industry people, we've consolidated everything that we don't need to spend money on. We've kept the essentials open, like our phone lines, the website, the things that we need to operate. We've told our crew, if you need to go get a 9-to-5, do it. We will have a spot for you when we start opening back up. And I still do work on the DJ company, and I work 10 to 12 hours a night. Like last night, I was in work at 7 p.m. I was home at 6:30 this morning.
Damn, you look pretty good for up all night.
All-nighter. I was like, damn, bro, I wouldn't have scheduled this if I'd known that.
But I usually will, sleep sometime during the daytime. I'll wake up a few hours before work and I'll email clients if I need to and return phone calls. So it's not like we've ignored it, but we've cut out everything that we don't need to do. And we've focused on, servicing the clients with their questions, their concerns, we are starting to book new stuff and new clients.
Same.
And ready to go. So when it's time, all we have to do is unpack the gear, make sure our skills are sharp and we're prepped and ready, and we hit the ground running.
It's good, man.
Awesome.
It's great.
Yeah, you will. Thank you.
Absolutely, you will. Yeah, man. Thanks for being honest about it. Thanks for, hopefully, inspiring some other DJs to know that it's okay. I mean, I'm looking at the comments. You got to do what you got to do to survive. Freddie was saying, absolutely respect that. Jeff was saying people kind of don't want to talk about it because it feels like they're moving on. Somebody else says it's a pride thing, but man, listen, it's all survival mode right now. You know what I mean?
But to those people who say it's a pride thing, I think Mike should be proud. You didn't sit around going, wait a minute,
woe is me.
That's the only thing I know how to do. You said, I've got other skills. I've got other abilities. I'm going to utilize that until this wakes back up.
Yeah. So. And I'll tell you this, anybody, and I'm not like an endorser, necessarily just for like the freight industry. I mean, it's a union. I'm in the union now. I got, good benefits, decent pay, got a lot of overtime. But if you need a job like this, and DJs who are business owners, who are smart and savvy, can be successful. I was there. June 24th was my first day. Within 2 or 3 months, there were already whispers about them maybe having me not be a forklift operator and becoming a supervisor.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it for a variety of reasons. I just didn't feel like I knew enough about that business to be in charge of 30 guys who've been there some 35 years to be telling them what to do. I wanted to feel a little more comfortable and established. But now, of our dock workers, because of people leaving and moving on, I'm the fourth most senior guy there, and seniority carries a lot of weight for dock workers working around each other. I'm the fourth most senior guy there already. And so you can have success in a business like this or transitioning to something else. Your skills as a leader, a business owner will translate in other businesses.
And I don't know if your experience will be the same as mine. I did a lot of blue collar work when I was growing up in high school, odd jobs here and there. Doing that work makes me appreciate what I do now for a living. The fact that I can rock a wedding on a Saturday night and make what I make, and I think, man, how many hours of mopping floors would I have had to do as a teenager to make what I make on a Saturday night? It taught me an appreciation for what we do. So listen, I know we have to wrap. So Mike, thank you again for
my pleasure, guys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mike.
I do want to do a teaser for next week's show, and also Joe, let you, because you said you don't have a topic, right?
I don't. I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna take.
Here we go. Here we go.
There's some homework involved for you, Joe.
Okay.
And probably more for Randy.
Okay.
My idea for next week's show. Well, here's why. My idea for next week's show is I want you and I to give each other some questions we've gotten in the sales process from clients that are not crazy, but not your ordinary standard. Are you available? What's your price? But here's the thing. I don't want to know your questions in advance, and I don't want you, and you're not going to know my questions in advance. Because part of the sales process, obviously with an email, you have time to craft your answer. But when you're on the phone with somebody or a Zoom meeting or face-to-face, back in the day, we used to do face-to-face meetings, you're asked questions sometimes and you need to think on your feet. So I want to see how well you think on your feet to some of the questions. I have 5, and I'm going to try to come up with 1 or 2 more.
Jeez.
I'd love for you to come up with at least 5.
Okay.
And again, probably talk to Randy because he handles more of the day-to-day sales. But that will be the topic of next week's podcast. Joe and I handling in the moment, spontaneous sales questions.
God, I'm good at coming up with topics. Cool. I mean, Mike's good at coming up with topics.
I'm good at Me and Richie are good at coming up with topics.
Mike, thanks again for being on. Mike Walter, thank you, man. Everybody watching, thanks for being on this morning. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening.